It's recording. Let's go back.
In spin and skin, the sounds P and K are said to be in parallel distribution because they occur in the same phonological environment but never replace each other within that exact word position. Let's see what that means. Spin slash SPN bar, skin slash SKN bar. In both words, the structure is S plus voiceless stop plus N here, comma, P comma, a voiceless bilabial stop, comma, K comma, a voiceless velar stop. Both appear after S slash before the vowel at the beginning of a syllable, so they share the same structural position. However, they are different phonemes, not variants of the same sound. Replacing one with the other changes the word. Spin equals skin. That shows they're in contrastive distribution. They create different meanings, but structurally they appear in parallel environments, the same phonological slot. What's happening? English allows a cluster. S plus voiceless stop. P, T, K. Examples. Spin slash SPN slash. Stop slash STP slash. Skin slash SKN bar. So P and K occur in the same position. After S, follow the same phonotactic rule, but remain distinct phonemes. In short, they are different sounds that are allowed in the same phonological environment, forming minimal contrasts. If you'd like, I can also explain how this relates to complement.
So, in spin and skin, per and ka in parallel distribution because they occur in the same phonological environment, but they never replace each other within that exact word position. Both words, the structure is sa plus voiceless stop plus in. Here, pa voiceless bilabial, ka voiceless velar stop. After S, before E, at the beginning of a syllable. So they share the same structural position. However, they are different phonemes, not variant of the same sound. Replacing one with the other changes the word. That shows that they are in contrastive distribution because they create different meanings. So if something creates different meanings, then it is in contrastive distribution. But structurally, they appear in parallel environments. They are also in parallel distribution and in the same time parallel distribution and contrastive distribution. Parallel because they occur in the same phonological slot, the same structural slot. That's where they appear, and that's the reason why both of these are also in parallel distribution. Okay. Now,
Complementary distribution for comparison. Yes, in spin and skin, P and K occur in the same structural position. S plus voiceless stop plus vowel, and substituting one for the other changes meaning. So your understanding is correct. Yes, phones are the smallest physically observable units of speech sound. Actual sounds we pronounce.
now phones are the smallest unit of sound. How are phones described in terms of their nature? Briefly explain. So,
Here, they are concrete speech sounds, not abstract categories. How phones are described in terms of their nature. Phones are described phonetically based on their physical properties. 1. Articulatory nature, how they are produced. Place of articulation, bilabial, alveolar, velar, etc. Manner of articulation, stop, fricative, nasal, etc. Voicing, voiced or voiceless. Example, P is a voiceless bilabial stop. 2. Acoustic nature, their sound wave properties. Frequency, intensity, duration, form and structure for vowels. 3. Auditory nature, how they are perceived by the ear. So, briefly, a phone is the smallest actual speech sound, described in terms of its physical production, acoustic properties, and perception. When we say phones are the smallest units of sound, we mean they cannot be divided into smaller sound parts that function independently in speech. For example, take the word cat, cat. It consists of 3 phones, comma, K, comma, A ligature, comma, T. You cannot break K into 2 smaller speech sounds that can separately change meaning. If you try to split it, like separating the burst from the closure, those pieces are not independent sounds in the language. They don't function on their own. So smallest means smallest segment of speech we can identify. Smallest unit that can be individually described phonetically, not further divisible into smaller meaningful sound units. They are the minimal building blocks of spoken language at the phonetic level. Allophones are the different phonetic realizations, variants of a single phoneme. That
allophones characterized in relation to phonemes, non-distinctive. What does it mean briefly? Allophones are the different phonetic realizations of the same phoneme. They are non-distinctive. Allophones are non-distinctive. That means that they do not create a difference in meaning when substituted for one another within their proper environments. Pa in pin is aspirated, pa in spin is unaspirated. These two sounds are slightly different phonetically, but they do not change the meaning of the word. They are simply context-based variants of the same phoneme. Um, so either it's pa or it's fa. Logically, you wouldn't perceive this as one single phoneme, which is pa. Whereas if it were to be perceived as ka in some environment, whereas pa in the other, then they both of these cannot be the allophones as they change meaning. Now they are different phonetically. Phonetic means the way something is described in writing, whereas phonemically it's the understanding level.
They are non-distinctive, meaning they do not create a difference in meaning when substituted for one another within their proper environments. For example, in English, the P in pin is aspirated, P. The P in spin is unaspirated, P. These two sounds are slightly different phonetically, but they do not change the meaning of the word. They are simply context-based variants of the same phoneme P. So, phoneme meaning distinguishing unit, allophone non-meaning distinguishing variant of a phoneme. Non-distinctive means they do not signal different words or meanings in the language. Correct choice. A phonemic solution. In spin and skin, the sounds P and K are said to be in parallel distribution. Sounds that can separately change meaning. If you try to split it, like separating the burst from the closure, those pieces are not independent. Correct choice. A phonemic solution with the smallest possible number of phonemes. Why this is called economy in phonology. The principle of economy means we should analyze a language in the simplest way possible, without proposing unnecessary phonemes. If two sounds can be explained as contextual variants, allophones, of one phoneme, instead of two completely separate phonemes, then we choose the simpler analysis. Example, if aspirated, P, as in pin, and unaspirated, P, as in spin, never contrast in meaning and occur in predictable environments, we treat them as one phoneme P rather than two separate phonemes. So economy means, use the smallest necessary inventory of phonemes while still explaining all sound contrasts in the language. It is about analytical simplicity and efficiency. Correct. The key figures are Auguste Comte and Ernst Mach. What is positivism? Positivism is a philosophical tradition that says, only knowledge based on observable facts, scientific evidence, and empirical verification is valid. It rejects metaphysics, speculation about supernatural or abstract entities, purely theoretical claims.
What is positivism? Positivism is philosophical tradition that says only knowledge based on observable facts, scientific evidence, and empirical verification is valid. Economy, use of the smallest necessary inventory of phonemes while still explaining all sound contrasts in the language. Um, okay, so it rejects metaphysics, speculation about
Without
supernatural.
observation. In simple terms, knowledge must come from experience and scientific method. Reality should be studied the way natural sciences study it. What cannot be observed or tested is not considered meaningful knowledge. Comte argued that society should be studied scientifically, leading to sociology.
Reality should be studied the way natural sciences study it. Knowledge must come from experience and scientific method. Comte argued that societies should be studied scientifically, leading to sociology and math. Mach Ernst Mach emphasized that scientific concepts must be grounded in sensory experience.
And Mack emphasized that scientific concepts must be grounded in sensory experience. Briefly, positivism equals belief that true knowledge comes from observable, scientific facts only. Correct answer, markedness of science. What European structuralism emphasized? European structuralism, associated with thinkers like Ferdinand de Saussure, focused on language as a structured system of signs. Meaning arises from relationships and oppositions within the system. One key idea is markedness. In a pair of related forms, one is marked basic, neutral, more general. The other is marked, more specific, carries extra feature. Example, singular versus plural. Cat marked basic form. Cat's marked, has extra plural marker S, or gender. Lion, general slash and marked in some uses. Lioness, marked with S. So European structuralism emphasized that linguistic units gain meaning through structural oppositions, and markedness shows how one form in a pair is structurally more complex or specified than the other. Structuralist phonology is described as taxonomic, classificatory, not explanatory. What this means, it focuses on identifying sounds, classifying them into phonemes and allophones, describing their distribution. It does not try to explain why the system is the way it is, no mental rules or deep structures. It mainly organizes and categorizes observable data. This approach is associated with scholars like Leonard Bloomfield and American structuralism. Example, in English, comma, P in pin, comma, P in spin. A structuralist analysis would observe their distribution. Note that they never contrast in meaning. Classify them as allophones of P slash. It stops at classification. It does not ask why aspiration happens cognitively or mentally. So, taxonomic describes and classifies sound patterns. Not explanatory does not propose abstract rules or psychological explanations. Correct answer. Phonemes are stored as bundles of distinctive features in the brain. According to distinctive feature theory, developed by linguists like Roman Jakobson and Noam Chomsky, phonemes are not stored as indivisible sound units. Instead, they are stored as bundles of smaller contrastive features. What does that mean? Each phoneme is made up of binary features such as comma plus voice slash comma voice comma plus nasal comma nasal comma plus labial comma plus continuant. Example, P equals comma voice comma plus bilabial, continuant. B equals, plus voice, plus bilabial, continuant. The only difference is the feature, plus or minus voice. So in the brain, phonemes are represented not as single blocks, but as structured combinations of distinctive features that differentiate one sound from another. Correct answer. It minimizes redundancy. Why? In distinctive feature theory associated with Roman Jakobson and later Noam Chomsky, sounds are analyzed as bundles of features rather than separate, unrelated units. Instead of repeating the same properties for many phonemes, shared features are stated once and used systematically. Example, consider P, B, M. All three share, plus bilabial. Instead of separately describing each sound fully every time, we represent them through feature combinations. This avoids restating the same articulatory information again and again. Also, phonological rules can refer to features rather than individual sounds. Example rule, voiceless stops become aspirated at the beginning of a stressed syllable. Instead of listing P, T, K individually, we can say voice, continuant, aspirated in that environment. So redundancy is minimized because shared properties are captured once. Rules apply to feature classes, not separate phonemes. That makes the analysis more economical and systematic. Correct answer, sounds that share similar distinctive features. What is a natural class? A natural class is a group of sounds that share one or more phonological features. Patterned together in phonological rules, they behave as a unit in the sound system. Example, in English, P, T, K form a natural class because they are, voice, continuant. Voiceless stops. A rule like aspiration applies to all of them at the beginning of stressed syllables. Pin, P, top, T, cat, K. The rule does not list each sound separately. It applies to the whole feature group. So a natural class is characterized by a shared set of distinctive features that make the sounds behave similarly in phonological processes. Correct answer. Features are defined in phonetic terms, articulatory and acoustic. Brief explanation. In distinctive feature theory, each feature corresponds to physical properties of speech sounds. They are defined in terms of articulation, how and where the sound is produced. For example, plus voice, plus nasal, plus labial. Acoustics, measurable sound properties. For example, form and structure, noise, frequency patterns. So features are grounded in phonetic reality, not abstract labels. They describe observable characteristics of how sounds are produced and how they sound. Correct answer. Plosives, trills, liquids, and nasals are all plus consonantal. Your doubt about nasals is understandable, but nasals are also plus consonantal. What does plus consonantal mean? A sound is plus consonantal if it is produced with a significant constriction in the vocal tract, usually in the oral cavity. Now briefly on each. Plosives, stops, for example, slash P, T, K slash, complete closure in the vocal tract clearly, plus consonantal. Trills, for example, rolled R, rapid contact between articulators, strong constriction, plus consonantal. Liquids, for example, slash L, R slash, partial but definite constriction in the oral cavity, plus consonantal. Nasals, for example, permeter, N, N. There is complete oral closure. Air escapes through the nose. Because of that oral closure, they're also plus consonantal. Why the confusion? Nasals are plus sonorant, like vowels and liquids, but being plus sonorant does not mean they are consonantal. They are, plus consonantal, plus sonorant. So yes, nasals are consonantal sounds in distinctive feature theory. Correct answer. Nasals and obstruents are not plus approximant. What does plus approximant mean? A sound is plus approximant if the articulators come close together, but there is no significant turbulence, friction, and no complete oral closure. Typical plus approximant sounds, liquids, L, R, glides, J, W. Why nasals are not plus approximant? Nasals, M, N, N, have complete oral closure. Air flows through the nose. Because of the full oral blockage, they are approximant. Why obstruents are not plus approximant? Obstruents include stops, P, T, K, fricatives, S, F, affricates. They involve complete closure or strong friction. Since approximants require no turbulence and no full closure, obstruents are clearly approximant. So, liquids and glides, plus approximant. Nasals and obstruents, approximant. That is why the correct answer is nasals and obstruents. Correct concept. Glides and liquids are plus approximant. Obstruents are not plus approximant. So the correct group is glides and liquids, not obstruents. What does plus approximant mean? A sound is plus approximant if the articulators come close together. There is no complete closure. There is no strong friction, turbulence. 1. Glides, J, W, plus approximant. They are vowel-like sounds. Very open articulation. No friction, no full closure. Example, Jagger in yes, W in the. 2. Liquids, L, R, plus approximant. They involve slight constriction. Air flows smoothly. No turbulence like fricatives. Example, L in love, R in red. 3. Obstruents not, plus approximant. Obstruents include plosives, complete closure, fricatives, strong friction, affricates. Because they involve closure or turbulence, they are approximant. So the correct understanding. Tick, glides and liquids, plus approximant. Obstruents, approximant. Correct answer. Vowels, glides, and liquids are plus approximant. What does plus approximant mean? A sound is plus approximant if the articulators come close together, but there is no complete closure and no turbulent airflow, no friction. Air flows smoothly. 1. Vowels, plus approximant. Vowels have open vocal tract, no obstruction, no friction. Example, A, I, U. 2. Glides, J, W, plus approximant. They are very similar to vowels but function like consonants. Example, Jagger in yes, W in the. 3. Liquids, L, R, plus approximant. They have slight constriction but no complete closure, no turbulence. Example, L in light, R in red. So all 3, vowels, glides, and liquids are classified as plus approximant because they allow smooth, non-turbulent airflow. Correct answer, glides, liquids, and vowels. What does open approximation mean? Open approximation means the articulators come close together but do not create complete closure and do not produce strong friction. Air flows out smoothly. 1. Vowels. The vocal tract is relatively open. There is no obstruction of airflow. Example, A, I, U. 2. Glides, J, W. Very close to vowels in articulation. Slight narrowing but still smooth airflow. Example, Jagger in yes, W in the. 3. Liquids, L, R. There is some narrowing but no full closure, no turbulence. Example, L in love, R in red. So, sounds produced with open approximation of vowels, glides, and liquids because airflow remains smooth and unobstructed. Correct answer. It indicates a resonant quality in sounds. What does plus sonorant mean? A sound is plus sonorant if it is produced with no significant obstruction of airflow, air flowing freely through the vocal tract, vibration that creates a clear, ringing quality. Sonorants include vowels, nasals, liquids, glides, obstruents, stops, fricatives, are sonorant. What exactly does resonance mean? Resonance means vibration that continues and is amplified inside a space. Think of blowing air into a bottle, it produces a ringing tone. A guitar body amplifies string vibration. In speech, the vocal folds vibrate. The air resonates inside the throat, mouth, and sometimes phone's nose. Because airflow is not blocked strongly, the sound is smooth and sustained. Example comparison. M, nasal, plus sonorant. Air flows through the nose. The sound is smooth and can be prolonged. S, fricative, sonorant. Strong friction. No smooth resonance. Cannot be sustained with clear voicing the same way. So briefly, resonance equals smooth, vibrating, ringing sound quality caused by relatively free airflow. Plus sonorant marks sounds that have this resonant, vowel-like quality. Correct answer. Fricatives are plus continuant. What does plus continuant mean? A sound is plus continuant if airflow is not completely stopped. Air can continue to pass through the mouth. The sound can be prolonged. Why fricatives are plus continuant? Fricatives, like press, F, V, are produced by narrowing the vocal tract, creating friction, but not fully blocking the airflow. You can stretch them. SS, FF. Since the airflow continues, even though it is turbulent, they are classified as plus continuant. Contrast. Stops like P, T, K, are continuant because there is complete closure. Airflow is fully blocked before release. So in terms of the feature, plus continuant, fricatives clearly belong to the positive category. Correct answer. Plus strident refers to sounds produced with strong friction that results in a noisy, sharp, hissing quality. What does that mean? A sound is plus strident if it has intense, high frequency noise, is acoustically loud and sharp, is produced with strong air pressure against the teeth or a narrow groove. Examples of plus strident sounds, perespa, z, as in ship, as in measure, t, as in church, d, as in judge. These sounds sound hissy or harsh. You can hear the difference, s for sharp, hissing noise, f friction, but softer and less intense, even though both are fricatives. S is plus strident, while f is typically strident. In simple terms, plus strident equals strong, high energy friction producing a sharp, hissing sound quality. No, the f in fish is not plus strident. It is strident. Why? Although f is a fricative, it has friction. It does not produce the sharp, high intensity, hissing noise that strident sounds do. Compare, s for sharp, piercing, high frequency noise, plus strident, f softer, diffuse friction, strident. Strident sounds are typically, per s, z, t, d slash. They are louder and acoustically more intense. So, f slash equals fricative tick, slash f per equals plus continuant tick, f equals strident tick. Correct answer. Affricates, specifically sibilant affricates, are plus strident. Why? The feature plus strident refers to sounds with strong, high frequency friction, sharp, noisy, hissing quality. Affricates like, t, as in church, d, as in judge, are produced with 1. A stop closure, 2. Followed by intense frication, like or. Because their frication is sharp and high energy, they are classified as plus strident. Not all affricates in all languages are strident, but the common English affricates T and D are clearly plus strident due to their strong hissing quality. Correct answer. Phonemic representation. What is phonemic representation? A phonemic representation is the underlying form of the word in terms of phonemes before any phonological rules apply. It shows only the contrastive sounds, not the detailed phonetic variations, allophones. It is usually written between slashes. What does phonemic mean? Phonemic relates to phonemes, which are the smallest sound units that can change meaning. Abstract mental sound categories. Example, English P is a phoneme because pin equals bin. The difference between P and B changes meaning. Example of phonemic representation. Word, spin. Phonemic representation. SPN slash, but phonetically it is pronounced SPN with unaspirated P in pin. Phonemic, PN slash, phonetic, PN, aspirated. The phonemic form does not show aspiration because it is not meaning changing. So, phonemic representation equals the basic, abstract sound structure of a word, showing only meaningful sound contrasts. Correct answer. Trochee. A trochee is a metrical foot in poetry that consists of 2 syllables. First syllable equals stressed. Second syllable equals unstressed. Pattern. Strong, weak. Example. Ta bled. Garden. Winter. In each case, the first syllable is stressed. Contrast for clarity. Trochee strong, weak. I am weak, strong. Example of I am. Return. So a trochee is simply a 2-syllable metrical unit with stress on the first syllable. Correct answer. It signifies the psychological reality of sounds. What does that mean? A phonemic representation reflects how sounds are stored and organized in the speaker's mind, not how they are physically pronounced in every context. It captures the abstract, mental form of sounds, only the meaning distinguishing units, phonemes, not the surface phonetic details. Example. English pin and spin. Phonemically, slash pn slash, slash spn pa, but phonetically, pn, aspirated, spn, unaspirated. Speakers do not mentally store 2 separate p sounds. They store one phoneme p, and aspiration is added automatically by rule. So when we say phonemic representation shows psychological reality, we mean it reflects the mental sound categories speakers actually know and use, rather than the detailed physical variations of pronunciation. Correct idea. At the phonemic level, redundant phonetic features are stripped off, removed. What are redundant features? Redundant features are sound properties that are predictable from context, do not change meaning, are automatically supplied by phonological rules. Since phonemic representation includes only contrastive, meaning distinguishing, features, predictable details are not shown. Example, English P, in pen, PN, aspirated, in spin, SPN, unaspirated. Aspiration is predictable. It occurs at the beginning of a stressed syllable. It never changes meaning in English. So at the phonemic level we write, slash PN slash, slash SPN pa. We do not include the feature, plus aspirated, because it is redundant. In simple terms, at the phonemic level, only essential, contrastive features remain. Predictable phonetic details are removed, so redundant features are stripped away, leaving the abstract, mental sound structure. Correct answer. Systematic phonetic level of representation, often called systematic phonetic representation or surface representation. What is it? It is the level obtained after phonological rules apply to the phonemic underlying form. So we have 1. Phonemic slash underlying form abstract, mental. 2. Phonological rules apply. 3. Systematic phonetic form shows predictable phonetic details. It includes features that were not present in the phonemic level but are added by rule. Example, underlying, phonemic, PN slash, rule. Voiceless stops become aspirated at the beginning of a stressed syllable. After rule application, systematic phonetic level, PN. Here, aspiration was not stored in the phonemic form. It was added by rule. Another example, phonemic, in plus possible slash, rule, prefix in becomes, m, before bilabials, systematic phonetic, MPSPL. So, the systematic phonetic level is the surface form created when phonological rules operate on the underlying phonemic representation. Correct answer, sequential. What does sequential mean? Phonological rules apply in a specific order, one after another. The output of one rule can become the input for the next rule. So rules are not random, they operate step by step. Example, consider a simplified case in English. Underlying form, electric plus slash, rule 1, stress shift, electric, electricity, electricity. Rule 2, vowel reduction. Unstressed vowels become schwa. Because stress changes first, vowel reduction applies afterward to the new unstressed syllables. If the order were reversed, the result would be different. In simple terms, sequential means phonological rules apply in a fixed order, and their ordering affects the final pronunciation. Correct answer, different rule orders still produce the same final form. What is partial ordering? In phonology, rules are often ordered sequentially, but in a partial ordering situation, two or more rules do not affect each other. Applying rule A before rule B, or rule B before rule A, gives the same output, so their relative order does not matter. Example, simplified. Suppose, rule 1, vowel nasalization before nasals. Rule 2, final consonant devoicing. If these rules operate on different segments and do not interfere, the final pronunciation remains the same regardless of which rule applies first. In simple terms, in partial ordering, the rules are independent, and different application orders lead to the same surface form. Correct answer, only one rule applies to a given form. What is disjunctive ordering? In disjunctive ordering, rules are arranged so that, if the first rule applies, the second rule does not get a chance to apply. The rules are in a kind of either-or relationship. Why? Because the rules may target similar structures. The first applicable rule blocks the others. Simple example hypothetical. Rule 1, add suffix a to nouns ending in consonant. Rule 2, add suffix b to nouns ending in consonant cluster. If a word matches rule 2 more specifically, that rule applies. The more general rule does not apply afterward, so only one rule ever operates on that form. In short, disjunctive ordering means rules are mutually exclusive. Once one applies, others are prevented from applying to that same form. Fortition is a phonological process in which a sound becomes stronger or more constricted in articulation. If the MCQ says fricative to plosive, that is a classic example of fortition. Why? A plosive, stop, has complete closure. Greater articulatory strength. A fricative has narrowing with friction, less closure than a stop. Since a stop involves more constriction than a fricative, changing v slash b slash or letter fd is considered fortition. Example, from some dialects or child's speech, pistis, letter f, fricative, becomes d, plosive. The sound becomes stronger in terms of closure. So, fortition equals strengthening of a sound, often involving change from fricative plosive, greater constriction. Fortition is characterized by a sound becoming stronger or more constricted in articulation. If the change is approximate plosive, that is a clear case of fortition. Why? An approximant, like the jewel, w, l, r, has open approximation, no complete closure, smooth airflow. A plosive, stop, like the p, t, k, b, d, g, has complete closure, strong obstruction of airflow. Since a plosive involves greater articulatory strength and tighter constriction, the change represents strengthening. Example, hypothetical or dialectal, wb, jd, in some child speech patterns, the sound moves from a weaker, vowel-like articulation to a fully closed stop articulation. So, fortition equals strengthening of a sound, and approximate plosive is a strong example because constriction increases significantly. Correct idea, voiceless stops are generally stronger than voiced stops. Why? In phonology, stronger often refers to greater articulatory force, higher air pressure, greater muscular tension. Voiceless stops, p, t, k, are produced with no vocal fold vibration, stronger burst of air, often aspiration in English. For example, pin, pn. Voiced stops, b, d, g, are produced with vocal fold vibration, less air pressure, weaker burst. Example contrast, p versus slash b slash, pat versus bat, p, voiceless, has a stronger release and often aspiration, b, voiced, is softer and shorter in release. So the relationship is, voiceless stops are articulatorily stronger, fortis, while voiced stops are weaker, leanus. The correct answer is a sibilation, a type of spirantization. What happens? In this process, a stop becomes a fricative, often a sibilant, especially when it comes before a high vowel like I or jewels. High vowels involve a raised tongue position, which can cause the stop to be released with friction, turning it into a fricative or affricate. Example, in some languages and dialects, t plus I, ts, or s, d plus I, dz, or z. For instance, hypothetical example, slash t slash c. The stop t becomes a fricated or fricated before the high vowel I. Why does this happen? High vowels require the tongue to be close to the roof of the mouth. When a stop is released before such a vowel, the airflow may create friction, producing a fricative-like sound. So, the process is called sibilation. A stop changes into a fricative, or affricate, often before a high vowel. Correct answer, epenthesis. What is epenthesis? Epenthesis is the insertion of a new sound, segment, inside a word, usually to make pronunciation easier. It occurs between two existing sounds. Example 1, English pronunciation. Some speakers pronounce film, FLM. An extra vowel is inserted between L and meters. Example 2, past tense forms. In English, wanted, WNTD. A vowel is inserted between T and D to break up the difficult cluster. Simple definition, epenthesis equals insertion of an extra sound within a word, typically to ease articulation. Correct answer, anatixis. What is anatixis? Anatixis is a specific type of epenthesis where a vowel is inserted inside a word, usually between two consonants, and not at the beginning of the word. So it is vowel insertion in a non-initial position. Example, English, film, FLM. A vowel is inserted between L and meters. Athlete sometimes pronounced arlet. The inserted vowel breaks up a difficult consonant cluster. In simple terms, anatixis equals insertion of a vowel within a word, not at the beginning, typically between consonants to ease pronunciation. Correct answer, Paul Kipski and K. P. Mohan developed the program of lexical phonology. What is lexical phonology? Lexical phonology is a theory that says phonological rules apply in levels, or strata, inside the lexicon, closely interacting with word formation, morphology. So, word formation and sound rules are not separate. Phonological rules apply step by step as words are built. How it works. Basic idea. 1. A word is formed in layers. 2. After each morphological step, like adding a suffix, phonological rules apply. 3. Some rules apply only at early levels, others apply later. Example, word, electricity. Base word, electric. When suffix ity is added, electric plus ity. First, stress shifts, electricity. Then vowel reduction applies to unstressed syllables. So, morphology, adding ity, happens. Then phonological rules, stress shift, vowel reduction, apply. The final pronunciation results from ordered levels. In short, lexical phonology proposes that phonology operates in ordered levels within the lexicon, interacting closely with word formation. Correct idea. Lexical phonology was proposed as a refinement of generative phonology, especially the model developed by Noam Chomsky and Morris Halley in the sound pattern of English. It was mainly developed by Paul Kipski and K. P. Mohanan. Why was it proposed? Closed. Classical generative phonology treated phonology as a single set of ordered rules, applied after morphology, mostly separate from word formation. But this model had problems explaining why some phonological rules apply only to certain affixes, why some rules are sensitive to word structure, why stress patterns change with certain suffixes but not others, what changes were made. Lexical phonology introduced 1. Levels, strata, inside the lexicon. Word formation happens in stages, and phonological rules apply at each stage. 2. Close interaction between morphology and phonology. Phonological processes apply as words are being built, not only afterward. 3. Lexical versus post-lexical rules. Some rules apply inside the word, lexical rules, others apply later across word boundaries, post-lexical rules. Example, electric, added electricity. Stress shift happens only with certain suffixes. Lexical phonology explains this by saying, the suffix belongs to a particular level. Stress rule applies at that level. In short, lexical phonology refined generative phonology by organizing phonological rules into ordered levels inside the lexicon and tightly linking phonology with morphology. Correct answer. It emphasizes the interaction between morphological structure and phonological rule application. What does this mean? Lexical phonology, developed by Paul Kipperski and K. P. Moranen, argues that the internal structure of a word, its morphemes, determines how and when phonological rules apply. So phonological rules are sensitive to morphological structure. Example, word, electric, add suffix id electricity. Here, the addition of id changes the stress pattern. The stress rule applies because of the specific morphological suffix added. Not all suffixes trigger stress shift, so rule application depends on word structure and affix type. In simple terms, lexical phonology emphasizes that phonological rules apply in stages, according to the morphological structure of the word. Sound change is therefore closely tied to how the word is built. Correct answer. The lexicon plays a central and productive role. What does that mean? In lexical phonology associated with Paul Kipperski and K. P. Moranen, the lexicon is not just a dictionary of stored words. Instead, it is the place where word formation happens, the place where phonological rules apply in levels, an active, rule-governed system. Why central? Because morphology and phonology interact inside the lexicon. Words are built in strata, levels, and after each step, phonological rules apply. Why productive? Because new words are formed in the lexicon. The same phonological rules apply to newly created words. Example, happy, happiness. When ness is added, phonological adjustments may occur according to lexical rules. In simple terms, in lexical phonology, the lexicon is an active system where words are formed and phonological rules operate step by step, not just a storage list of words. Correct answer. Phonology is divided into lexical phonology and post-lexical phonology. 1. Lexical phonology. This operates inside the lexicon while words are being formed. Applies in levels, strata, comma, sensitive to morphological structure. Affix, stress, vowel changes, affix triggered alternations. Example, electricity. Stress shifts when the suffix ity is added. This happens at the lexical level. 2. Post-lexical phonology. This operates after words are formed, at the phrase or sentence level, not sensitive to internal word structure. Applies across word boundaries. Includes processes like assimilation, connected speech effects. Example, good boy, GBB. De-assimilates to be across word boundary. This is post-lexical. In short, lexical phonology divides phonology into lexical rules word internal, morphology dependent, post-lexical rules phrase level, automatic sound processes. That is the basic structural division in the theory.